Actually, I know hypnosis myself. I studied hypnosis.
She's a witch. Natalie's a witch.
Yes, I am.
Wait, so Natalie's a witch? How come she hasn't been able to cast a spell to fix her own love life? What's she on now? Divorce number 2? Number 3? I've lost count, and that doesn't even include the problem she's having with Josh. But on the topic of divorce, Julia and Brandon seem to be in a very bad spot this week. Maybe they could do with Natalie's help. Or then again, maybe not.
But this is not, it has hurt me for 4 years.
You cheated?
Not cheating, but me kissing.
That's cheating.
Now, before we get to Julia's admission of cheating and all of the subsequent fallout, let's kick off proceedings with Natalie and Josh. So, the last time we saw the pair, they'd just had a therapy session that went wrong. Very wrong. You see, Natalie asked the therapist to leave, and Josh, being unhappy, decided that he should leave too. And when we join Natalie in this episode, she's flying solo all alone at Julia's party. So, with Josh not there, the other couples take the opportunity to talk to Natalie alone. They fill her in on the fact that Josh often talks about her behind her back.
To each of you, he says different story.
Yeah, so it's always negative, and you are always the problem. Exactly.
When I talk to him, he loves you.
Everyone there tells Natalie that Josh has told them he doesn't see a future with Natalie. He doesn't think that he'll be with her long term. It's a pretty damning indictment, isn't it? Everyone says the same thing. Everyone except Binny. He sticks up for Josh. He's of the opinion, right? He says that Josh has told him he loves Natalie and he wants to build a life with her. So with practically everyone saying one thing and just Binny saying that Josh loves Natalie, take a guess who Natalie chooses to believe. Yeah, Binny. It's that she chooses to hang her hat on. She clings to that as a glimmer of hope. Just look at what a visible impact it had on her hearing that. She's literally rolling down the shutters. She's blocking out all of the negative things and clinging on to the massively unreliable one positive thing. But as the party ends and Natalie makes her way back to her room, she takes the opportunity to share something that's actually pretty shocking.
Josh wasn't at the party, he was not in his room, and now he's not answering the phone. I have no idea where he is. I'm frustrated and I don't understand.
Once again, Josh has left the retreat and hasn't even told Natalie that he was going. This is starting to become quite the pattern, isn't it? Anytime something happens that Josh doesn't like, he just takes off. Look, I get that Natalie is a lot, but she makes a good point. How can they possibly fix their problems if Josh isn't even in the same room? And when he is, if he isn't really even invested in the therapy, if he acts like he doesn't really want to do it. Now, eventually, Josh does return, and he makes his grand entrance just as everyone's boarding the vans to go for group therapy. But Natalie, given the radio silence that he's been giving her, seems quite conflicted about his return.
On one side, it means he wants to work on relationship. On another side, like, I'm not happy to see him because I'm still mad for what happened, for him leaving me.
As Natalie points out, Josh has started coming in and out of therapy as often as he pops in and out of her life. Yeah, it really must be frustrating, never knowing whether or not your partner's actually going to be there when you need them. But it isn't only Natalie who's less than impressed with Josh. You see, his flashy entrance seems to have ruffled a few feathers.
Who the car is this? Did he leave just to come back in a nice car? Mr. Man.
That car is probably as much as my house.
It's not cost so much money. It's not Lamborghini.
It's a rental.
That sounds like sour grapes, doesn't it? I definitely detect a hint of jealousy and all of that. Now, when Josh makes it into the van, the guys are welcoming, but they're also curious. Like, what happened? Where were you? And Josh explains what caused him to leave, what happened with the sex therapist. He explains that he was so annoyed that he just had to step away.
I said I was like one blow up away from like getting out of here. And like we had that blow up.
Who's bring you here?
You guys, man.
Fantastic, Josh, brilliant. What a great reason to return to couples therapy. He's come back not for his partner, not to work on his relationship. No, he's come back for the bros. Yeah, I mean, now you can understand why everyone except for Binny was telling Natalie that he constantly belittles her and talks about her behind her back. This is the perfect example of that, isn't it? His answer should have been, I'm here for Natalie. I'm here to work on my relationship. Look, if Natalie isn't the reason for his return, then the least he owes her is a conversation. He should be telling her that to her face, shouldn't he? So with that in mind, given how he's treated her, when they get to their destination, it isn't really a surprise that Natalie is really annoyed.
Natalie won't even make eye contact with me. I wasn't expecting for her to just completely ignore me. But, you know, I'll take this over her screaming at me.
Wait, why does he sound disappointed by that? Was he hoping for some sort of big scene upon his return? Like, we know that Natalie often does go very overboard. She often takes bad news very badly. But I almost get the impression here that Josh, knowing this, is almost trying to lean in to Natalie's bad behaviour. He almost wants her to go overboard and start screaming so that he can look like the good guy. Problem is, Natalie being calm and quiet for once kind of scuppers those plans. It's not what he expected. In fact, it almost seems like he doesn't really know how to act when she's like this. Just listen to what he says to her when the therapist pairs them up for a couple's task.
Oh, hey. How are you? Hi, how are you? I'm Josh. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Now, for as horribly as the day begun, from this point onwards, actually the pair do turn a new leaf. Perhaps this reset was exactly what they needed. The task in question, right, is for them all to put up a tent as a pair. Natalie and Josh do quite well here. Unlike some of the other couples, they're able to put aside their issues, work together, and actually complete the challenge without fighting or arguing.
If we could just use all that energy to always have like the same common goals, I think we'd be a great couple.
Now, one thing I will say about Josh and Natalie is they have shown us on multiple occasions now that when needed, they can actually work quite well as a team. It definitely helps that they're both competitive. They both always want to win. So with that competitive spirit shining bright, they complete the challenge first. They set up their tent before anyone else.
We done first. Like we won the exercise.
Winner.
Josh, we
Yes,
won because
ma'am.
we went first. We did first.
All right.
Winning seems to be exactly what the doctor ordered for these two, because it puts them both in a much better mood than they started the day. Now, the thing is, this is all about their relationship, not just about building a tent. As the therapist reminds them, right, they are winners as long as they keep on growing their relationship. And it's this timely reminder that causes Natalie to reflect. She remembers suddenly that that isn't the case. For as well as they might work together when there's a challenge, their relationship isn't growing. So who or what is to blame for that? Well, Josh thinks he knows the answer.
It's when she likes to take charge and doesn't let me lead us. We do fall short.
Look, Natalie with her erratic behaviour definitely isn't a saint. She's not innocent. But isn't it very unfair of Josh to always blame everything on Natalie? Whenever anything bad happens, he wants us to believe it's because she made it happen. He takes no responsibility for their issues. Now, the one thing he does give her, right, he says to her, I admit, I wouldn't have been able to win this challenge without you. I wouldn't have been able to set up the tent if you didn't help. And for the moment at least, that is enough to appease Natalie. She agrees, in fact they both agree, to put aside their issues and go into the next therapy session with an open mind. So what is the next therapy session? Well, much to Natalie's delight, it involves hypnosis.
Actually, I know hypnosis myself. I studied hypnosis.
She's a witch. Natalie's a witch.
Yes, I am.
Natalie's a witch? Well, I'm sure that's not the worst thing she's ever been called.
You bitch.
But it does come as a surprise that she's never brought this up before. We've seen quite a few other cast members very keen to tell us all about their witch skills, haven't we?
Most people think I'm totally crazy, but It really helps me find peace, especially when it comes to relationships.
She tells us she reads tarot cards, and she also says that she can read and interpret things like dreams. Now, Josh goes on to confirm this. He confirms that actually some of Natalie's readings have been spot on. So with that in mind, perhaps she might know what's in store for Julia and Brandon. You see, for as devastating as this therapy session might be for their marriage, and yeah, we'll come back to that in a second, the episode actually started off on a much more positive note for the pair.
I promise you this time.
Uh-huh.
So here I am.
Yeah?
Let's make
Won't
up.
you hop on that bed?
So after all of the other couples left their room after the party, Julia and Brandon finally seemed to connect. Having complained about their intimacy issues for all the time that they've been at the resort, it looks like finally, they may be about to address that issue. I mean, it certainly seemed it. Things certainly seemed to be going in that direction. Except when we join her the next day in the van, questioned of course by all the other ladies, Julia confirms that things unfortunately didn't go to plan.
We start kissing, we start like, hey, and he just going to between my legs and just go fall asleep. And later he wake up and go throw up.
Yeah, not exactly the romantic night that they'd planned, but it all seems pretty light-hearted. They did manage to make it through most of the day without too much drama. Until, that is, it was time for the hypnosis therapy session. Now, the whole hypnosis therapy involved thinking of a time that they hurt their partner. The goal was to think of that and then imagine what they could have done differently. And it's Brandon who kicks off proceedings.
My moment was when I thought I was doing a nice thing, giving my mother a gift, a house key to our home, and did that without asking you.
Now, as I'm sure you recall, Brandon's parents have been a very big theme in their relationship. Let's just say Brandon isn't the best at setting boundaries, especially with his mum. So in hindsight, you can understand why gifting his mum a key to their house didn't exactly go down too well with Julia. It hurt her.
I'm gonna give my mom a key to our house for Christmas.
A few minutes later.
Give it to you key. So why? Without asking me to give it to you key.
So why would I show up?
You don't need show up.
So why do I need a key?
This is one question for him.
Yeah, it turned into a mess. It hurt Julia's feelings, but it also ended up making his mum cry too. But, and here's the twist, surprisingly, Julia interrupts Brandon as he's explaining what happened and informs him that actually wasn't a really big issue at all.
That is not important. This is not something that has really hurt me.
No? I thought it did.
Well, she certainly seemed annoyed, but okay, if that wasn't an issue, if that's not a big deal, tell us, Julia, what have you done that's hurt Brandon? Well, it turns out her hypnosis brought back up a memory that she's hidden from him for many years. This goes back to when they were just dating, and ominously, Julia is terrified to tell Brandon.
I mean, we here for honest, right?
Yeah.
So, please don't walk away when I tell you that.
Words that strike fear in your heart, aren't they? So, just how bad is this? Well, Julia begins by reminding Brandon of a time he came to Russia to visit her. Remember how I was acting weird? Remember how we were constantly fighting? She asks him.
We always broke up. Because I meet my ex and we plan to be thinking to go back to each other.
This is something that Julia has been holding on to for their entire relationship. She came dangerously close to breaking up with Brandon to get back with her ex. This is something that up until now, Brandon hasn't had a clue about. Like, just look at the poor guy. He seems genuinely shocked by this news. Too shocked, in fact, to ask any questions. But that isn't a problem for the rest of the cast. They want all the gory details.
Florian just be horrible, and he seems like a guy who gonna be cheating on his wife.
You cheated?
Not cheating, but be kissing. And
That's cheating.
Kiss is cheating.
With all of the issues that these two already face, adding infidelity into the mix as well might just be the final straw. Brandon's gobsmacked. He can't believe what he's just heard. He feels, rightly, he feels betrayed. Now, the question is, does Julia deserve credit for opening up and being honest about this? I mean, she could have carried on keeping it a secret and none of us would have been any the wiser. Maybe, perhaps, she feels that their relationship is strong enough that this, from years ago, won't affect them. But the truth is, if that's what she thinks, she's got it all wrong. It does affect them, it really affects them. And Brandon doesn't know if he can ever trust his wife again. He's absolutely furious.
I feel like divorce has become a stronger possibility. I'm so angry at Julia. Just angry. Very angry.
Yeah, you can really see that this has torn Brandon apart. I've never seen him like this. This really cuts deep. It's really sad, isn't it? Up until now, they've seemed like one of the only couples that might actually make it out of the retreat stronger than when they went in. But this changes everything.